Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk you through how to answer questions 1 and 2 from paper 1 of the Pearson Edexcel English Language GCSE. So the first thing to bear in mind in this paper is that it's a fiction paper and it's from the 19th century. So fiction means it's a story, and the 19th century obviously means it's going to be more than 100 years old. So we just need to bear that in mind when we're thinking of the context and the historical period that the story is written in. Okay, so the first thing to do that will really help is to make sure that you look at this little kind of context blurby bit at the top of the text. So a lot of people forget to read this and they just kind of crack straight on with the exam, but it really helps. So, and you can glean quite a lot of info from this one. So in this one it says, in this extract the narrator's walking back to London alone late at night. He has arrived at a deserted crossroads. Okay, so this tells us that the main character's a man, he, and also that he's the narrator. So it's first person, so he's writing in I and me and he's part of the action. And it also, we know that it's late at night and it's a deserted crossroads, so maybe the atmosphere is a little bit mysterious, a little bit spooky perhaps. Okay, so I would say the best thing to do is to look at the questions before you start reading to save time. So, question 1, from lines 1 to 2, identify a word or phrase which describes how the hand is laid on the narrator's shoulder. Okay, so I would say it's really important to have a highlighter or a pen and to annotate the text and the questions for the key words. So here it's really key that it's lines 1 to 2 and that it's a word or phrase. So make sure you don't write a whole sentence because it's a waste of time, and also you don't need to do any explanations, any PEE paragraphs. You just need to find the word or phrase which describes how the hand is laid on the narrator's shoulder. So let's have a look. So lines 1 to 2. Now we're thinking, oh, where's lines 1 to 2? Because we've only got lines 5 and 10 marked. So you just count from the beginning of the actual text. So not this bit at the top, just here. Okay. So in one moment, every drop of blood in my body was brought to a stop by the touch of a hand laid lightly and suddenly on my shoulder from behind me. So remember, it was how is the hand laid. So here we go, we've got lightly and suddenly. So we've got two potential answers here and we can just decide, so which one do we want to write? So you could write lightly or you could write suddenly. Okay, or you could write lightly and suddenly. Both of those would get you a mark. Alright, so then moving on to question 2. Again, check the line numbers. So here it's 4 to 10, and we've got two ways. We've got two answer spaces to fill in which the appearance of the woman surprises the narrator. You may use your own words or quotations from the text. So we don't have to quote exactly if we don't want to, or we can if we think that's safer. It's up to us. But the ways in which the appearance of the woman surprises the narrator. So let's have a look at the text. So we're using lines 4 to 10. So again, sometimes it's a good idea to do this so you don't get mixed up. Now, still read line 3. You don't want to miss it out because it might have some important information in there for later in the exam. I turned on the instant with my fingers tightening around the handle of my stick. Okay, so that shows that he is feeling surprised. So, and then hopefully this bit's going to tell us why the woman's appearance made him surprised. So let's have a look at that. There, in the middle of the broad, bright high road, there, as if it had that moment sprung out of the earth or dropped from the heavens, stood the figure of a solitary woman, dressed from head to foot in white garments, her face bent in grave inquiry on mine, her hand pointing to the dark cloud over London as I faced her. I was far too seriously startled by the suddenness with which this extraordinary apparition stood before me, in the dead of night and in that lonely place, to ask what she wanted. The strange woman spoke first. Okay, so obviously this is 19th century and it uses some language that is a little bit unfamiliar to us. For example, apparition, grave inquiry, maybe even solitary. But try not to worry about those bits that you don't understand. Remember, you've only got to find 2 bits from this whole 6 lines, and you can, if you're not sure about something, maybe you can just ignore it. So we needed to find ways that she seemed to be making him surprised by her appearance. So the fact that she sprang out of the earth or dropped from heavens, that's quite surprising, isn't it? That she was on her own, a solitary woman, because remember, this is the 19th century. Women weren't really often walking around on their own in the middle of the night. Also, the fact she was dressed from head to foot in white garments might be a bit surprising. Her face bent, engraved, and quite without. Even if you're not sure what that means, maybe that's surprising. You can have a guess on that one if you weren't sure. So she appeared suddenly, and it was in the dead of night. That's quite a surprising thing, in a lonely place. Okay, so those ones possibly could all be good answers, couldn't they? So we just, again, you don't want to spend too long on this, so just think, okay, what ones do you think are the most surprising, that would most surprise him? So you could put, she sprung from the earth and dressed all in white, might be ones that you might want to put. Okay, and I haven't quoted directly, I've just paraphrased, but you could if you want to. Now I'm just going to show you this is the Marc Scheme, and as you can see, there's loads of different answers here that you could write, and again, they don't have to be particularly in these words, you could paraphrase them. Okay, one thing to bear in mind though is it asks in what way the appearance of the woman surprised him. It doesn't ask you to give evidence that he was surprised. So when I marked this paper, I saw a lot of candidates would put, I was far too seriously startled. That isn't correct, because all it's doing is proving that he was surprised, but it's not saying in what the way that he was surprised. So be careful that you directly answer the question. Okay, so hopefully that helps with questions 1 and 2. Look out for my videos for the other questions on paper 1. Thank you, bye.